In the heart of the 1930s, Spain was a nation simmering with tension. Decades of social unrest, political instability, and deep ideological divides had pushed the country to a breaking point. On one side stood the newly established Second Republic, a fragile democracy championing land reform, secularism, and workers' rights. On the other, a powerful coalition of monarchists, landowners, the Catholic Church, and a growing fascist movement, all of whom viewed the Republic's progressive agenda as a direct threat to Spain's traditional identity. The air was thick with hope and fear, a prelude to a storm that would soon engulf the entire nation. That storm broke on July 17, 1936. A group of high-ranking military officers, led by generals like Emilio Mola and José Sanjurjo, initiated a coup d'état. They expected a swift takeover, but their plan fractured. The uprising succeeded in some regions, primarily in the conservative north and rural south, but failed in major cities like Madrid, Barcelona, and Valencia, where government loyalists and armed workers' militias fiercely resisted. Within days, Spain was brutally bisected. The rebels, who called themselves the Nationalists, controlled about a third of the country. The rest remained loyal to the government, becoming known as the Republican Zone. The failed coup had not delivered a quick victory. Instead, it had plunged Spain into a full-scale civil war. From the chaos of the initial uprising, one figure began to consolidate power within the nationalist camp. Francisco Franco, a cautious but cunning general initially stationed in the Canary Islands, successfully airlifted the elite army of Africa from Morocco to mainland Spain. This decisive action, combined with his political maneuvering, led to his appointment as Generalissimo and head of state of the nationalist government by October 1936. He unified the disparate right-wing factions under his absolute command, creating a disciplined and ruthless war machine. Meanwhile, the Republican side was a complex and often divided alliance of socialists, communists, anarchists, and liberals. Their cause, however, resonated across the world. Inspired by the fight against fascism, thousands of foreign volunteers poured into Spain. These were the International Brigades. Men and women from over 50 countries, writers like George Orwell and Ernest Hemingway, workers, intellectuals, and adventurers, arrived to defend the Spanish Republic. They saw Spain as the first major battleground in a global struggle against a rising tide of authoritarianism, a belief that turned a domestic conflict into an international affair. The Spanish Civil War quickly became a dress rehearsal for World War II. The Nationalists received crucial support from Nazi Germany and Fascist Italy. Hitler sent his elite Condor Legion, an air and ground force that used Spain as a testing ground for new weapons and tactics, including the infamous Blitzkrieg. Mussolini provided tens of thousands of Italian troops, aircraft, and tanks. Their intervention was decisive, giving Franco's forces a significant technological and logistical advantage. The Republicans, on the other hand, found themselves diplomatically isolated. Britain and France, fearing the conflict could escalate into a wider European war, adopted a policy of non-intervention, effectively blockading the legitimate Spanish government from purchasing arms. The only major power to offer substantial aid was the Soviet Union. Stalin provided tanks, aircraft, and military advisors, but his support came at a price. It increased the influence of the Spanish Communist Party within the Republic, leading to internal purges and power struggles that weakened the anti-fascist front from within. This global proxy war transformed Spain into a violent chessboard where the great powers of Europe tested their military strength and political will. The war was defined by a series of brutal and pivotal battles. One of the earliest and most symbolic was the Siege of Madrid. Expecting the capital to fall within weeks, the Nationalists launched a massive assault in November 1936. But the city's defenders, with the cry, "No pasaran, they shall not pass," mounted a heroic and desperate resistance. Men and women, armed with old rifles and sheer determination, held Franco's forces at bay for over 2 years, turning Madrid into a powerful symbol of Republican defiance. Yet, the war was also marked by unimaginable horror. On April 26, 1937, German bombers of the Condor Legion, acting on behalf of the Nationalists, descended upon the small Basque town of Guernica. It was a market day, and the town was filled with civilians. For 3 hours, the planes dropped high explosive and incendiary bombs, systematically reducing the town to rubble and killing hundreds of innocent people. It was one of the first major instances of modern aerial bombing aimed specifically at terrorizing a civilian population. The atrocity shocked the world and was immortalized in Pablo Picasso's monumental painting, Guernica, a stark and haunting depiction of the barbarity of war. This and other turning points, like the bloody Battle of the Ebro in 1938, gradually drained the Republic of its resources and its will to fight. After nearly 3 years of relentless conflict, the Republican resistance finally crumbled. Weakened by internal divisions, military defeats, and international abandonment, their front collapsed. On March 28, 1939, nationalist troops entered Madrid without a fight. A few days later, on April 1st, Francisco Franco declared the war over. The Spanish Civil War had ended, but the suffering had not. The conflict had claimed over 500,000 lives, driven hundreds of thousands into exile, and left the country in ruins. The fall of the Republic marked the beginning of a nearly 40-year dictatorship under Franco. His regime systematically repressed political opponents, suppressed regional cultures, and imposed a strict, conservative Catholic ideology on the nation. The Spanish Civil War's legacy is profound and enduring. It was a conflict of ideologies, democracy versus fascism, revolution versus tradition, that foreshadowed the global struggle to come. It left deep scars on Spanish society that are still being debated and reconciled today. The war serves as a timeless and tragic reminder of how quickly a nation can be torn apart by division, and how the fight for ideals can come at a devastating human cost. Thank you for watching. If you found this documentary informative, please like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into history.